Every Mario Party Superstars minigame ranked. In 100th place is Tug of War. This minigame is infamous for giving people injuries. People used the control stick with their palm and got injured. That's all that's really special about this minigame, otherwise it's kind of annoying. In 99th place is Puddle Paddle. Something that you should know about me is I hate coin minigames, as most people do. They have a really annoying goal, which is collecting coins. Like, you already collect coins in minigames, so why add more coins? But this is definitely the worst coin minigame. The controls are really bad and it's really slow. And the presentation isn't good, because it's like some sort of desert and it looks really bland. So it's pretty bad. Next is a similar one, Hammer Drop. This one's a free-for-all coin minigame, unlike the last one. That makes me like it more, but otherwise it's the same thing. I do like how you can fall off of the map though. It makes it more dangerous. But yeah, otherwise this minigame is exactly like the last one, just reskinned. In fact, I think the only good coin minigame in the series is Heir to a Fortune from Super Mario Party. But we're not talking about that anymore, we're talking about Winner or Dinner. I like the intro and outro cutscenes of this minigame, and it's one of the only minigames to do this in the series, which is kind of weird. There's a tornado and then it zooms in onto the characters, and it's pretty cool. But that's about the only notable thing about this minigame. You'll grab coins while avoiding spikes and piranha plants. Yeah, it's as basic as a coin minigame can get. Next is Parasol Plummet. This one's honestly more unique than the last three. You use an umbrella to go down or up. And if you go up, it's riskier, but you can get more coins or get hammered. If you go down though, you can get less coins because people above you have already collected those coins, but you're less likely to get hammered. Yeah, this is not great. Anyways, moving on, we have Castaways. This one is very similar to Tug of War, as it's from the same Mario Party game, Mario Party 1, and you rotate the stick. This also issued a warning from Nintendo to not rotate your hand to collect the chests and the coins. But even rotating the stick normally doesn't even work, because this and Tug of War don't work. I get it, they're from the first Mario Party, but in this clip you can see I'm Yoshi, and I am not collecting any chests or coins. That's how hard it is. Speaking of hard, we have TikTok Hop. I've never been good at this minigame. I don't know if anyone else is not good at this minigame or if it's just me, but I think it's pretty hard. Especially if you're on the inside of the clock, because then it's kind of harder to jump. And also, the clock hand moves, as well as the other clock hand, so it gets kind of crazy. And pretty hard. Next is Piranha's Pursuit. This is the closest we've gotten to having PD Piranha in a Mario Party game. Please let him as a playable character in the next Mario Party, please Nintendo. Anyways, this minigame is kinda unbalanced. The cloud always moves away from PD Piranha, so it's kinda hard to pour the rain on him, and the skateboarder, it's kinda easy for them. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is, though. The next one might be a hot take. It's Etch and Catch. It's not even that I hate it that much, it's just kinda boring and bland. All you do is just draw a circle around a stamp a couple times and it's over. It's a really random thing for a minigame, especially for one of the first minigames where they could have done so much more creative ideas and they just decided, oh, why don't we draw circles around a bunch of stamps? And it's over so quickly, or at least that's how it feels. Here's another hot take, Pokey Pummel. Yeah, this video is gonna have a couple hot takes, hopefully not too many, but this is a hot take. I do not like mashing minigames. I like Domination a fair bit, but this one, it's a little worse. Decent presentation though. At number 90 we have Pit Boss. Why do I dislike this game? Honestly, I don't even know. I feel like after Bowser throws that first ball, he just keeps going and throws a bunch of balls until it's impossible. And it makes it end so quickly. In this clip, after like 10 seconds, he just gets angry and adds a bunch of balls, and it gets so hard. Like, look at me. And with all the people, it's so hectic, and I guess that could be a good thing, but I don't know. At number 89, we have What Goes Up. This is the inferior version of Leaf Leap, which we'll see much higher on the list. The reason this one is so much lower is because it's kinda hard. You have to jump on a bunch of small paratroopas, and you can like hit their head on accident, and it gets pretty hard. Again, that could be a good thing, but I don't know. And the clouds and everything, the background, it's just a copy of Leaf Leap. Next is Cheep Cheep Chase. I honestly used to be pretty bad at this minigame. I kinda got the hang of it. The mashing part is kind of annoying because I'm not a big mashing fan. And it can be pretty hard to dive under the bombs and mash at the same time. And you also have to think about if the Cheep Cheep is going to suck you in, but you also have to think about winning the race, because it's a race. All in all, the presentation isn't the best, but it's okay. In 87th place is Quicksand Cash. This is a coin minigame. Quite literally a coin minigame again. One person's Bowser and they try to suck people in, but also suck the money in, and the others are trying to get the coins on the outside, with also not trying to get sucked in. It's pretty boring, and for me it was pretty hard to win as Bowser, because I couldn't suck anyone in or any coins. Next is Blockstar, a puzzle minigame. Not many people are the biggest fans of Blockstar or any of the puzzle minigames. I think that the two of them are pretty good, but this one is the worst. You just match 5 of a color and then do that with another color and keep going and hope to not lose. Also, this could have very well been a 4-player minigame, but it's just a 2-player minigame, which I think is kind of weird. Moving on, we have Money Belts. This is a 1v3 coin minigame, which you don't really see much of. I don't really like the idea of splitting the coins you get in coin minigames with the 3 people, but I mean whatever. Because the person who's playing on the pink conveyor is probably always going to get more money, even if they have less money at the start. I hope that makes sense, but the 3 people have to split it, and even if they have a lot, they'll have to split it equally, and yeah. Next is X-Ray Payday. This one can get really hectic in the later part of the game. You check if the boxes have punching bags in them, bob-ombs, coins, or bags of coins. And if you're not paying attention, you can accidentally get bombed or get hit with a punching bag. I enjoy how tricky it can get. And it really spices up the minigame and makes it more unique from other coin minigames. Here's another unique coin minigame, Cashapults. In Cashapults, your goal is to jump up on this big seesaw thing and collect as many coins as you can while you're flying in the air. I don't know why, but I find this so fun. It's a very simple minigame, but I honestly like some minigames for being simple, including this one. But the reason it's not ranked higher is because it's a coin minigame. And you guys know how much I dislike them. Next is River Raiders. In River Raiders, one person is at the front in a boat and the others are riding on shells. Everyone's goal is to collect the most coins. The person in the front has it easier though, because they can choose which direction everyone goes in, and they can get ahead and choose which ones they want, and also push other people into the wood blocks. It has the same problem as Money Belts though. For the 3 people, you have to split the coins. Anyways, next is Ice Rink Risk. In Ice Rink Risk, your goal is to avoid the spinies that pop up from above. You do that while on ice, making it harder to avoid the spinies, and more appear. This is kind of similar to Pit Boss, but it's on an icy terrain and it looks more unique. But like Pit Boss, it can get really hard really quick. And maybe that's just me who hates it because I'm not good at Mario Party, but whatever. This minigame is all around pretty okay. Your goal is to flash the Chain Chomp with a flashlight. A flashlight. And you have to flash him with the flashlight before he gets too close to you, or else he'll just bite you. And then you'll lose the minigame. That means you have to be really strategic. And it's a risk versus reward scenario, which I really like in Mario Party minigames. Next is another Bowser minigame, Dark and Crispy. Your goal is to survive and avoid Bowser as he lurks in the shadows and tries to hit you off and blow you away with the fire. But he's not very good at hiding, because you can always tell where he is. So I'll always end up winning this minigame. In fact, it'll be a very close game and sometimes even a tie, because it's so easy to see where he's going. I do like the presentation though. Moving on, we have the 1v3 Spotlight Swim. The 3 players try to flash the 1 player, flashing with a flashlight. Again, yeah, a flashlight. A flashlight! It can be kinda easy for the 1 player if they're a player and not just a CPU, because the CPUs aren't really good at this minigame, because they can dive and go wherever they want without getting caught by the searchlight. I think it's not perfectly balanced, but they tried their best with this minigame. Next is Trapeze Artist. I should mention, this is when the minigames start getting kinda good. It's like the B tier. I don't hate or love these minigames, including Trapeze Artist. Your goal is to drop the cage once a bunch of Goombas get under the cage. And if there's a golden Goomba under your cage, that'll get you extra points. But it's kinda luck-based. And I don't really love luck-based minigames. But next on the list is not luck-based, and it's Motor Rooter. If I'm being honest, I would have liked this minigame so much more if it was 4-player. Like seriously, why would they make it 2-player? Did they just need more 2-player minigames? Because I think this would have worked so much better as a 4-player one. And there's nothing that would block it from being a 4-player minigame. Also, I do like this minigame a fair bit, but I didn't have anywhere else on the list to put it, so it had to be down this low. Sorry, Motor Rooter fans. And sorry, Dungeon Dash fans, because Dungeon Dash is number 75. In this minigame, you match your joystick to the direction it's supposed to be moved. And you have to do it at the same time as your teammate, or you'll get tripped. This minigame feels very bland. The only 2 things you have to dodge are the thwomp and the fireballs. And after that, you just walk to the end. Yeah, that's the whole minigame. Pretty boring. One that's not boring though, and always keeps me on my toes, is Title Toss. In all the games that this minigame has been in, it's always been kind of unbalanced. In its original iteration, it was easy for the 1 player because the invincibility frames on the 3 people lasted too little. But in the Mario Party Superstars version, their invincibility frames last way too long. Still though, I think this game is pretty okay. Another okay minigame is Pogo A Go-Go. In this 1v3 minigame, 1 person moves the whole map where they have to get people into the holes. And the 3 people on the pogo sticks have to avoid it. I feel like it's kind of unbalanced, but I can't put my finger on for which team it's unbalanced for. But nonetheless, it's a pretty decent minigame, all things considered. And it's fun to get people into the holes as the 1 player. Moving on, we have Bombs Away, a classic. I don't know where that big Bowser boat went from the first game and why they got rid of it, but this pirate ship is not going to do it for me. I miss that old Bowser ship that they had in the original version, but alas, that's not what we're talking about. In this minigame, you have to avoid the bombs that come onto the island. And you have to be really strategic, because if they come on one side, then you have to go to the other side to not get hit off. A less strategic minigame is Mecha Marathon. The reason I say less strategic is because it's a button masher. But I think it's more unique than Pokey Pummel because you use A and B to mash instead of just A. And they actually represent Fly Guy, who is a very underrated Mario character. And it's fun to see where your Shy Guy lands and if you can get like a high score. I'm a really big fan of minigames where you can get high scores. Next is probably the game that inspired Splatoon. It's Paint Misbehavin'. The reason I say it probably inspired Splatoon is because you're supposed to ink the most things and Splatoon does the exact same thing. I don't know, that's just my theory. A game theory. Okay, I'll stop. In the minigame, you just ink the most Goombas. can get pretty hectic. It can get pretty hectic at the end. But it's essentially a button masher. Next is roll call. In roll call, you count the most toads, bob-ombs, or boos. The bob-ombs explode and the boos hide from you, so the toads are the easiest way. But the minigame is still pretty easy. If you're a good counter, you can get this right all the time. There's also a much harder version of this minigame we'll see much higher on the list. And it often overshadows this minigame. Next is the iconic Shy Guy Says. This is basically like Simon Says, but you have two choices, the red flag or the white flag, and you'll choose L or R. If the Shy Guy holds up the white flag, you have to click the R button. If he holds up the red flag, the L button. And sometimes he'll hold up both and then one to try and trick you. This minigame is so simple but so iconic. But not the best. Next is Dizzy Dancing, another icon, except less iconic. In Dizzy Dancing, your controls are all wonky, so if you want to move forward, it'll make you move backwards. So you have to get strategic. And your goal is to collect all these little green notes. I enjoy this minigame a fair bit, because it's pretty unique. And one of my favorite parts of minigames are how unique they are. The reason this minigame isn't much higher is because there's definitely better ones on this list. Such as Coconut Conk. It's a 1v3 minigame, where 3 people use coconuts and ground pound them to try and hit the person in the barrel. It can honestly get pretty hard as the person in the barrel, but if you're going against CPUs, they can be pretty dumb. I also really like the aesthetic of this minigame and the presentation. A beautiful beach with palm trees, it's pretty nice. Another one with pretty nice presentation is Paths of Peril. Paths of Peril is essentially a maze minigame done right. Because this minigame is unique. You can fall off the ledges, you can accidentally take a longer path, and I all around enjoy it. And as I mentioned earlier, the presentation is really nice because it takes place in a dry desert. By the way, pro tip, never take the paths with the red arrow because that's always harder. Next is Boulder Ball. In Boulder Ball, the one player has to throw boulders at the 3 people, and the 3 people have to dodge them and get up to the top of the mountain. It can be pretty easy for the 3 people, because when they get hit, they just get flattened and they don't get eliminated. So yeah, it's kind of slightly unbalanced, but 1% unbalanced. Because otherwise, this minigame's pretty decent. Next, we have Bumper Balloon Cars. I'm a sucker for minigames where you're in cars, but this one isn't the best. The execution is just not great, because if you hit someone, they'll just turn around and you can pop their bubble. It's so annoying and it ends so fast. In this clip, you can see that after 2 seconds I got eliminated. I won't hate on this minigame too much though, because there's a reason it's at 63. Because it's all around okay. Next is one that I dread when it pops up. Dinger Derby. Yeah, I've never been good at this minigame, and that's why it's going so low. It feels impossible to hit the ball, especially when it's super fast, and 2 balls come out. I can't lie though, the concept is pretty good. And I like how you can get a record on this. As I mentioned before, I like minigames where you can get records. By the way, my personal record is 19 in this minigame, see if you can beat that, you probably can. Next is Catch You Letter. In this minigame, you just catch letters and then send them to the Shy Guy. Also, why is the Shy Guy running away from everyone? They're trying to be helpful and hand him a letter. Don't run away from us. Anyways, love letters give you extra points, and yeah. That's all there really is to this minigame. I've never been the biggest fan of it. But a minigame that I am a pretty big fan of is Later Skater. Actually, I'm not the biggest fan of this minigame, but whatever. Later Skater is just a skating minigame. You just skate around this little lap 5 times and you win. There is kind of a strategy where you can hug the wall. I don't know if it makes it slower or faster, but I always opt to do that. This minigame's pretty nice though, and I love the presentation and how it's in this big forest with a skating rink and a bunch of penguins. Another one that I like the presentation of is Sky Pilots. Sky Pilots is a classic minigame. Anyways, in Sky Pilots, it's a 2v2 minigame. And on both ships, there's one person that moves it and one person that flaps the wings to make it go faster. I like how everyone has a job. And it's not just one person doing all the work. There's tons of obstacles, rings that make you go faster, and it's all around pretty unique. Next is Hot Rope Jump. This is basically a skipping rope minigame where you just jump over the thing. I like how instead of skipping rope though, they use these big fireballs and it adds so much to the atmosphere and appearance of the minigame. I like the dark atmosphere and how it looks lit up with all the fireballs. This minigame is very simple, and again, I love minigames that are simple. Next is a minigame that's not so simple. Eatsa Pizza. Oh boy, here come the hate comments. Yeah, I'm sorry, but Eatsa Pizza, it's okay. Now we're starting to get to like the A-tier territory. This one is probably the start of it. This minigame is a mashing minigame though, but a little more strategic, cause you gotta eat the pizza, which is honestly a pretty cool gimmick. The crust slows you down and so do the pepperoni, so you have to get strategic. And I love strategic minigames, like Rapid River Race. In Rapid River Race, you have to get strategic. You can boost your little machine, and it'll go faster, but it makes it harder to avoid the urchins. Another thing I love about this minigame is the water. I know this is very random, but I love the water in this minigame. It just looks so fresh and I want to sip it. Good on you, Nintendo, for making this minigame have such nice water. Moving on, we have Balloon Burst. In this minigame, you just burst a balloon. You use L and R to pump up the thing and then pump down it. Again, it's a simple minigame, but simple means good. And I love the animation of it just blowing up. It looks so like realistic. I just like want to squeeze it or something. And I love the animation of it popping where all the debris falls off. Next, we have Cake Factory. This is a 2v2 minigame where one person grabs a strawberry and one person grabs a cake. If you time grabbing your item wrong though, you'll miss it, and you'll have to try again. This is a pretty unique minigame, and it can get pretty hard as the conveyors speed up. There are better 2v2 minigames though on this list. This one's still a pretty decent one though. Speaking of decent minigames, next is Tipsy Turny. In this minigame, you have to get all of those like little square pieces off to reveal the picture. You have to move around the screen and the shell will move as you move. It's a really unique type of minigame. And it almost feels like a motion control minigame even though it's not. All in all though, this is a pretty simple but effective minigame. Next we have a minigame that I absolutely adore, Messy Memory. I wanted to rank this higher, but I just don't think that it needs to be ranked higher. Because I love Messy Memory, and I love its whole gimmick and everything. You're supposed to match all the items that have fallen, and it's so fun, but it's also pretty easy. And you can look at other people's screens to see where they've placed items, so you can copy them. So sorry, Messy Memory, but I can't rank you any higher. But I can rank the Final Countdown higher. In the Final Countdown, there are a bunch of numbers on the screen, and you want to go on the higher ones, because once the numbers reach 0, they'll just break apart and you'll fall. This is a very interesting minigame, and it's also pretty unique. I feel like it can be pretty easy though, if you just move yourself really quickly to like a 9 or an 8 number. Anyways, next on the list, we have Sneak and Snore. This minigame is basically red light, green light, but with a chain chomp. And you hit the button and then you go all the way back. It's kind of tricky to get down in your barrel though at the right time, because I feel like I'll get down in my barrel, but then the chain chomp will still get me. By the way, you've made it to the halfway point, So thanks for making it to the halfway point, and please consider subscribing, because this is my biggest video yet, and I really want it to break even like 1K views. Next is Spin Doctor. Like Motor Rooter, which we mentioned way earlier, this should have been a 4-player minigame, not a 2-player. Because again, it could have been a 4-player minigame. I do really like this minigame though. It's another maze minigame like Paths of Peril, but I think it's done better. You have to get on these little spinny things and make sure that they take you in the right direction. Yeah, this minigame is a pretty great maze minigame and probably the best in Superstars. Next is Flash Forward. In Flash Forward, you want to be in the picture. Ideally on that podium thing. You'll do that by hitting other people and just posing and stuff. It's really hectic and really fun. And hectic and fun minigames are the best type of minigames. If this minigame had more rounds though, then I would definitely put it higher. Anyways, next up is gonna be Tackle Takedown. I know some people really like this minigame. I like this minigame, not really like. It's basically football where one player tries to get a touchdown and the 3 people try to tackle them. Unfortunately, there's only one round, so it ends super quickly. So that's why it's being put this low. So if they added like maybe 2 more rounds, then I'd probably put it higher. But as it is, it's pretty okay. Next on the list is Mush Pit, also known as Toadstool Titan. Why did they rename this minigame? Honestly, I don't know, but I don't really care. I'm just talking about the minigame, not the name. Anyways, in Mush Pit, you break blocks and try to get the Mega Mushroom, and if you do, you turn gigantic and try to crush everyone else. It's a simple but effective minigame, again. And that's why it's getting ranked so high. But the person who gets the mushroom is a little too overpowered. Just a tiny bit though. Next is Picking Panic. In this minigame, one person throws cherries to the other person, and then the other person throws them into the basket. It's repetitive, but also pretty fun. And I don't know why, but it feels so satisfying to snatch those berries. I don't know why. Also, someone tell me why the guy from Woody Woods is in this minigame. Like, what is the tree guy from Woody Woods doing here? I guess that is pretty cool, though. Woody Woods tree guy cameo. We love to see it. Next is Trace Race. Despite what the name says, it's not actually a race. You're actually trying to get an accurate line to the original line that was made. And I like that idea. There's a few neat strategies on how to beat it, and I like that. I like strategies in this game. They make the minigames feel so much cooler and have more depth to them. But anyways, yeah, this is a pretty neat minigame. Cool gimmick, cool presentation. Another one with a cool gimmick and cool presentation is Honeycomb Havoc. In this minigame, you choose how many fruits you want. But you also want to not choose the bees. Because then you'll get a bee swarm coming to you, and then you'll get eliminated. So you want to try to make other people get the honeycomb. And it's a very fun and unique minigame. I love how strategic you can be in making other people get the honeycomb. It's so cool. Next is Vine With Me. This, like a bunch of other 2-player minigames, could have been a 4-player minigame. But whatever, it's still a fun 1v1 minigame. You grab onto vines like Tarzan, and you have to be strategic, because some vines won't come to you. So you have to be patient and wait for them to come to you. Like the last one, it has a lot of strategy to it. Oh, and I love the presentation with the cool jungle. Next is Rocky Road. In this minigame, you're driven in a car to a bunch of rocks that you have to get rid of. You can kick them, you can punch them. But for some reason, whenever I play with CPUs, they always try to hit me. We're on a team, Wario, stop hitting me! But I really like how this game looks. We're being driven on a car, in a place that looks like Woohoo Town. It's nice. Next is Rockin' Raceway. You'll mash the L and R trigger buttons, and it'll move your horse. But if you mash too much, you'll spin out. You also collect these little tokens that either make you faster or make you spin out. This is another minigame where you can get records, which, again, I really like. And I like how you're on a little horse. I like when minigames add a little spin or like a unique thing to it. Next, we have Mass Meteor. Another minigame that could have been 4-player. I still adore this minigame though. Look at the background, like it looks like Mario Galaxy but better. And the rocks look so realistic too. And I love going in tight squeezes and avoiding shell-shaped rocks. This is an amazing minigame with an amazing background. This is probably the best backdrop in any Mario Party minigame. In Storm Chasers, you try to get your piranha plant closest to the cloud so that it can grow. It's really unique, and it's a ton of fun. And I love how Monty Moles can pop up and damage you. And I especially love the cutscene at the end showing who won. It's a real nail biter. You get to watch everyone's plants grow until you see which one is really the tallest. Another minigame that has me biting my nails is Mario's Puzzle Party. This is another puzzle minigame, but it's done pretty well. It's kind of like Blockstar, but more fun. You only have to match 2 of a color, and there's thwomps that you can use to crush blocks. And it's a 4-player minigame, which makes it so much more fun. But this is definitely not the best puzzle minigame, because we're going to see the next puzzle minigame that's the best kinda soon. First, we have to see Reverse-A-Bomb. In Reverse-A-Bomb, there's 2 teams, and on one team, they're trying to get bob-bombs to the other team, and on the other team, they're trying to get bob-bombs to the other team. You'll hit buttons to deflect it to the other team. And it can get really hard trying to press all the buttons, because there's 6 buttons. And if you're playing with CPUs, they never want to press buttons. But yeah, this minigame is pretty fun and pretty hectic all around. And so is Hide and Sneak. Hide and Sneak is basically hide and seek. 3 people hide under 4 structures that slowly turn into 3 structures, then 2. And the one person has to choose which one they want to see so that they can eliminate anyone that's behind that structure. If the 3 people are coordinated enough, and if none of them are CPUs, they can honestly win very easily. Oh, and here's another 1v3 minigame, Archer Rival. In this minigame, one person is the archer, and they have to hit all 3 pictures of the players. If they hit a Goomba or a Boo, it doesn't really do anything negative, but it does give more space for the 3 players to move around. If the archer is good though, they can get everyone. And they can get everyone really quickly if they're good enough. But still, it's decently balanced. Oh, and here comes the final puzzle minigame, Stick and Spin. I love Stick and Spin. I honestly debated on putting it in the top 5, but I didn't. I wanted this video to be about my opinion, but also about the general consensus about the minigames. This one, I love it though. All you do is just match colors, but it's so fun and it can get so hard at the end. Oh, by the way, I have a 99 record on this minigame. So try and beat that. I love you, Stick and Spin. I also love Skew or Scurry. The 3 people have to avoid the spikes that the one person chooses. The one person can play a lot of mind games on people by tricking them. Also, this minigame is decently balanced. If the 3 people are good enough though, they'll win most times. But whatever, this is still a great time. While I'm on the topic of minigames that are a great time, you can't help but talk about the minigame Goal. 3 people throw the soccer balls at the net with the one person being the goalie. It's really fun, honestly. Charging up shots and then shooting them at the net and scoring is so satisfying. I will admit though, the one person has it bad, cause they gotta block so many shots. But if you're one of the 3 people, then it's a breeze. And I love the presentation with all the people cheering you on, having it be in a soccer stadium. The presentation of dungeon duos is also pretty amazing. You go through this obstacle course where you mash buttons to get people to the other side, hop on these little platforms, etc. The start is kind of mashing, but then it kind of picks up. There's a section where there's a bunch of pipes and you have to choose which pipe leads to the correct area. It is kinda luck-based at that part, but whatever. This minigame has so much variety to it though. Next is Manner of Escape, a luck-based minigame that does it right. In this minigame, you choose a door. And if the door you chose isn't correct, then you just choose another door. It's so simple but so fun. And the presentation of it being in a haunted house and all the glowing blue lights, it's just so cool. But I will admit, there is a better luck-based minigame that we'll see way later on in this list. For now, let's talk about Slot Car Derby though. In Slot Car Derby, it's basically a race. You go around 3 different maps. And make sure not to go too fast or you'll spin out and lose all your speed. But go fast enough that you can win the race. There's 5 laps, meaning that anything can happen. The person in 4th place could get all the way up to 1st place, or the person in 1st place could get all the way down to 4th place. Next, we're going to talk about Burn Style. You might think that this minigame is similar to TikTok Hop, and are probably wondering why I put TikTok Hop at 94th place and this one so high. Well, that's because this one's super fun. Jumping over the big metal bar, and having it be a 2v2 minigame instead of a 1v1 minigame, and having glowing orange lava, it's just so cool. This is how you do one of those minigames right, not TikTok Hop. Next is Coney Island. Stack your yummy, delicious ice cream as ice cream comes raining down from above. And as you get more ice cream on top of your cone, you'll get slower and slower, making the people winning slower. The atmosphere is also really nice with all the cookies and chocolate and stuff. I just want to eat this minigame, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels that way. Next is Speed Hockey. This minigame kinda reminds me of foosball. You have to hit the shell into the other team's net. It's basically foosball. But the controls can be really weird, which is actually a good thing, because it makes it harder. And I honestly like wacky controls in Mario Party minigames. This is a great minigame. It's such a good minigame that I almost forget it's a minigame and not its own side mode in Mario Party. Next is Bill Blasters. Bill Blasters also has some weird controls. You're spinning with a cannon and it's kinda hard to shoot people, but again, that's a good thing. It turns it from a regular old shooting game into an actually unique and fun one. And I love the atmosphere and how it takes place at like a bullet bill factory looking thing. It's probably one of the best shooting games in Mario Party history. Oh, remember how we were talking about roll call earlier? Well, here's its better version, Goomba Spotting. You may think that Goomba Spotting is so similar to roll call, but it's really not. You have to make sure to count all the Goombas and not those little like buggy beetle things, whatever they're called. And it gets pretty hard because the Goombas go faster and there's Goomba towers. Roll call wishes it was this good. And the counting sequence at the end makes it a nail biter. Next up on the list, we have another classic, Mushroom Mix-Up. This is the very first minigame in the history of Mario Party. And it's super fun. Toad will hold up a color, and you have to go to the color of the mushroom that it is. And you don't want anyone else to win, so you'll do things like stomping on them or hitting them. It's all around a really great time, and is incredibly replayable. Another great and replayable minigame is Pushy Penguins. In Pushy Penguins, you avoid the penguins. Yep, it's as simple as that. As the minigame goes on though, there'll be bigger penguins and more penguins, making it harder to win and easier to fall off. I really love this minigame. I love how it takes place on an iceberg, and how it includes those penguins from Mario 64. It's an amazing minigame. Another amazing minigame is Leaf Leap. The minigame What Goes Up wishes it was. In Leaf Leap, you're on a giant beanstalk and climb up onto the leaves. As you go higher and higher, you'll see things like fog, and eventually you'll make it to outer space. And it looks so beautiful in outer space. You can see Earth, and you can see a giant rocket. It adds so much to an already great minigame. Next on the list, we have Tube It or Lose It. One person has this big spiky machine and the other three are in tubes. The three people try to get to the end, and the one person tries to pop their tubes. They can slow down or speed up. There's obstacles everywhere, and it's all around super fun. One of the best 3v1 minigames in Mario Party. One of the best 4-player minigames in Mario Party is Bounce and Trounce. Everyone's on these big bouncy things, and they can spin and jump and try to knock people off. As the game progresses, some of the blocks will start to fall, until there's one block left. This is an amazing 4-player minigame, and it always has you on your toes. And I don't really know what the background is, but it does look pretty cool, with that purple smoke or fog coming. Next is Shell Soccer. Shell Soccer is honestly better than the entirety of Mario Strikers Battle League. Jokes aside, here's how it works. It's basically soccer. There's one team and then another team, and they try to score on one team's net. But the net is these Goombas for some reason. It is kind of weird, but I do like it. And you have to score on all 7 Goombas. So yeah, this is an awesome sports minigame. Next on the list is Handcar Havoc. Handcar Havoc is almost the exact same as Bobsled Run, which we'll talk about in a bit. There's 2 players on a team, and they try to get their handcar all the way to the end, and try not to fall in the lava, like you just saw Waluigi and Birdo did. Yeah, the CPUs aren't very good at this minigame either. But this makes it a very risk versus reward minigame. You want to go fast, but you don't want to go too fast or you'll fall off. Next is Look Away, a favorite of mine. In Look Away, it's simple. You just look away from the one player, or you're eliminated. And as the one player, you want to look in the direction of the 3 people. And so you're basically just shaking your head a lot. And you can make some last-minute moves that can make it really count, and then get everyone eliminated as the one player. It's a really unique and simple minigame. In fact, this used to be my favorite minigame. But you'll see what my favorite minigame is in a bit. Next is Squared Away. In Squared Away, one person just runs away from the other 3. The other 3 try to crush them. Everyone's in these cool looking cubes too. The person in the smaller cube might have it better than the other 3 people though, because they can move faster. But the 3 people can still crush the smaller person kinda easy. But again, the smaller person does have it much easier. A game where everyone's balance is Tread Carefully. In Tread Carefully, everyone's in these massive tanks. You can hide behind a bunch of pipes, or you can go all out and start shooting. Everyone has 2 lives, and unlimited shots. The controls are also a little weird, and as I mentioned before, that can be a good thing, like in this situation. They feel like how you would control a tank in real life. Now let's move on to one of the most iconic minigames in the series, Facelift. In Facelift, you match the face with what Bowser's face looks like. Now, not regular old Bowser's face, because the face is a little distorted and weird. His jaw will be too long sometimes his eyebrows will be too high. And you can make some pretty wacky creations with this. Oh, and it's so satisfying when you get the face perfectly. Moving on, we have another sports game, Beach Volley Folly. Beach Volley Folly is the closest thing we've got to a Mario volleyball game. The rules are simple, it's just volleyball. You can spike, you can set, you can hit, and it's pretty fun. I don't know why people don't talk about these minigames so much, because these sports minigames should honestly be their own side modes. I also love how this isn't a traditional volleyball game, and it's a beach volleyball game. It adds so much to the atmosphere. Next is Crazy Cutters. In Crazy Cutters, all you do is just cut a shape, and you hope your shape is the most accurate. And if it is the most accurate, a boo, a chain chomp, or a blooper will pop out of it. It's a really neat detail, and it's also a very fun minigame. It's like Trace Race, but the tracing is funner to do. Moving on to what I think is one of the most underrated minigames is ice hockey. And this is the closest we've gotten to a hockey Mario sports game. This minigame is tons of fun. You can do face-offs, you can pass, you can tackle, you can do power shots and normal shots. There's also Shy Guy goalies that make it harder to shoot. This is super awesome. They should definitely bring this back in the next Mario Party game. Another minigame that should be brought back in the next Mario Party is Chip Shot Challenge. Chip Shot Challenge is basically golf. You want to try to get a hole-in-one, or get it as close as you can to the flag. And you can even score a hole-in-one. I don't think it is too easy. I always end up scoring a hole-in-one when I play, because it is kinda easy. But who cares, this minigame is still awesome. You can even charge up your shot to make it even more accurate. Next on the list is another sports game, Snow World. Snow World is kind of a button masher, honestly, but it's a button masher done right. You mash all 4 buttons to get a certain degree. You want to get the highest degrees. And this is one of the mini games where you can set a record. It's such a unique premise done so well, and frantically pressing every button is just so fun. It's one of the most memorable Mario Party minigames for a reason. Another memorable minigame is Bowser's Big Blast. This is most people's favorite luck minigame, and some people even rank this as their favorite minigame. That's how good it is. It's simple, you just choose one of the levers, push it down, and see if you won. But you're constantly biting your nails wondering if you're gonna win or not. And once you see 3, 2, 1 on Bowser's eyes, you know it's about to go down, and then you get exploded into oblivion. This is a great minigame. Well, we finally made it. The top 5 Mario Party Superstars minigames. Starting with Snowball Summit. Build a snowball and throw it at people. That's all. It's simple but effective. And the backdrop is amazing with the northern lights. And leaving your footprints in the snow and having it look so realistic is just such a neat little minor detail. This is a near perfect minigame. Right above it at number 4 is Bumper Balls. In Bumper Balls, you try to knock the other players off on your ball. But the stakes are high because there's a big lava pool under you. And you can get bounced really far if someone charges up their bounce. It's so hectic. And finally bumping off the last player is so satisfying. Unfortunately, Bumper Balls didn't make it into the top 3. But a minigame that did make it into the top 3 is Bobsled Run. In Bobsled Run, there are 2 teams. The person in the front of the bobsled moves it, and the person in the back accelerates it and makes it break. You go on this icy course where there's railings, and sometimes even there's no railings at all. And there's big jumps and big boosts. In fact, you can even fall off of it. And what makes this minigame even better is the fact that you can get a high score on it, which we've already established I like. It was hard to choose which one was gonna win, Book Squirm or Monty's Revenge, but unfortunately Monty's Revenge is getting number 2. I still love this minigame though. Instead of whacking Monty, Monty's whacking you. And popping out of the holes and getting the most time out of the hole, it's just a genius gimmick. And having 3 Montys makes it even more fun and even more difficult. Now it's time for my number 1 pick, Book Squirm. Book Squirm is a genius minigame. You have to fit in between these different shapes. And it can get pretty hard near the end as it gets faster and there becomes less shapes. And this is one of the minigames where you can get a high score. And it's just all around a fantastic minigame. In fact, I'll even argue that this is the best minigame in all of Mario Party, not just Mario Party Superstars. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this massive video. This took a while to make, so thank you so much for watching till the end. Do you agree with my opinions? What opinions do you not agree with? Do you like Tug of War and are mad that I put it at number 100? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, I might make more long-form videos like this. Or I might not. But anyways, please like and subscribe and thank you so much for watching. Bye.